and some knowledge. Then there's introspection, this meditation. And we described also the process of Ashtanga Yoga as given by Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutras, which are very popular nowadays. And Ashtanga is a process of purification through which one begins to act morally in the world, begins to control his or her senses. These are the first things, yam, niyam, regulating the senses, so they're not just like wild horses pulling in different directions. And then comes the practice of breathing control, how to sit through asana, and then concentrating the mind and so forth. And it's all leading up to stilling the mind so that one can look further and further inside to see not just the Atma, but also the Paramatma. So we talked about these two, the distinction, and Krishna makes this distinction in the Bhagavad Gita between what we have been, what we call this course, Atma, which roughly translated is the soul, so we sometimes say, or the self, the living being that's within the body. And then comes Param Atma, and this Param word means the one who's above, or the supreme. So there's the Atma and then the Paramatma. So Patanjali Muni describes in his Yoga Sutras, in this Jnana Yoga, this process of meditation, looking inwardly, that one is meant to still the mind, because there's so many disturbances there. And then one can gradually perceive this Paramatma. And he says in the Yoga Sutra, does Patanjali Muni, that the shortcut process in the process of Ashtanga is to acknowledge or to make what is called Ishvara Pranidhan. So Ishvara is another name for the Paramatma in Sanskrit. It means the one who's overseeing everything, controlling everything. And Pranidhan means to offer oneself out of a feeling of devotion. So Patanjali Muni describes twice in the Yoga Sutras that this is actually the quick process. If one comes to this understanding that I'm well, as I'll put it, once I was talking to a man a priest who was very dedicated for so many years, and we had a long conversation. And he said at the end of the conversation, he said, "Listen, I'll tell you, after so many years of study, I only know two things for sure." He said, "What is that?" He said, "There is a God and I'm not him." So Ishvara Pranidhan means coming to this revelation that through these different processes of understanding that one's entangled, beginning to offer the fruit of one's result, of one's work, getting some insight into the fact that I'm non-material, I'm something beyond just the material body, and that there's a higher controller. And through Jnana Yoga, inwardly looking, then coming to Ishvara Pranidhan was actually a feeling of understanding that not only does nothing belong to me, which is actually a belief. As it says in the Upanishads, there's a verse that says, Ishavashamidam sarvam, yakincha jagatyam jagat, tena tyaktena bhunjita magridhav kasasudhanam. That everything animate or animate or inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by Ishvara, or the supreme controller. And therefore one shouldn't try to claim any proprietorship over anything except for those things, which are set aside as one's quota naturally. And so Ishvara Pranidhan is an experience of, these things don't belong to me. It's actually starting to awaken in karma yoga that one's not claiming the fruit of one's work. And then as one does that, one gets more and more knowledge. But it culminates in this experience that not only does nothing belong to me, but even myself belongs to somebody else. And there's an awakening, as we said before, of gratitude. And then comes the pinnacle, or the top rung on the ladder of yoga, which is bhakti. Bhakti yoga. So this is called the the yoga of devotion sometimes. And this is the logical conclusion after climbing up the ladder to come to this point of bhakti yoga. Described how there's a way in which one's gratitude awakens. Even in meditation, there's a way in which one discovers that my life is being sustained by a higher force. I'm not sustained, even this physical body is being maintained. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives hints of this. For instance, he says in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ham Vaishvanaro Bhutva, that I'm the digestive force. No one thinks really when they eat how it's being digested and distributed. They just enjoy it. But as Krishna says, I'm the digestive force, to give an idea that there's all around us a way in which Ishwar is assisting, is supporting. And there's a sense that this Ishwar is benevolent and a growing, what we call Shraddha. So this word Shraddha is used by Krishna in the end of the chapter about Jnana Yoga. And in that chapter of meditation at the end, he says that the best of all yogis is one who rises to this position of having this Shraddha. And so Shraddha means the heart, and Da is where you place something. So what you give your heart to. So everyone's giving their heart somewhere. And if you give your heart to material objects, you simply end up in this circle going around and around. But as you gradually become detached from the bodily conception of life and come to this position of understanding Ishwar Pranidhana, and then developing this abiding sense of Shraddha, gratitude, and appreciation for the fact that I'm being sustained by a higher power, then one enters into this feeling of bhakti. It's also called love, which is a dynamic kind of union, because all of the qualities are there within that situation where one is in experiencing gratitude and love for the divine source. That's bhakti. So what is bhakti? What is the process? Well, there's a natural outpouring, and I say natural because it's already there. It's the propensity of the Atma to have this kind of gratitude and love, and it's expressed in this world in all kinds of ways that we see socially, for instance, or in family relationships. Everyone, even we see souls in the animal species, they have this propensity to love others. So it awakens in bhakti naturally, and then the processes of bhakti start with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And so this means hearing, and this hearing of, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is called Shabda. And Anavriti Shabda means by hearing this superior sound, or sound that comes from a higher realm, from the spiritual stratum. Then the Atma becomes more and more purified, and also feels a direct connection. So it's described in one of the Bhakti scriptures through the mantra. It's called Mantra Murtam Amurtikam. So Murti means form in Sanskrit, also means difficulty. And therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam is saying that one can actually begin to see the form of Ishwar and experience directly for oneself the Atma to the Paramatma, the existence and the connection, this dynamic connection of love through the sound. And this is called Shabdat, or Murti means difficulty, it also means form, and then the verse says Amurtikam. When you use the mantra Murtam Amurtikam, then what was difficult before to see becomes easy, becomes not difficult. When you put an A in front of a word in Sanskrit, it changes the meaning. So Murti, difficulty, becomes not difficult. So one can find one's way actually back to the original home, the source of everything. As we mentioned in the last class, there's a journey to make. And an example I like to give is an experience I had when I went to Muir Woods and I met the ranger there who had waders boots on, and he was in the water with these really long tongs, and he was pulling things out of the small stream that runs through Muir Woods Park. And I was with a couple of friends from Hungary who I was showing them around the park. And so we went over to the ranger and asked him what he was doing. And he had these special polarized lenses on so he could see into the water. And he said, I'm taking micro trash out of the water. And he said, do you want to know why I'm taking it out of the water? I said, sure, please tell us. He said, because it disturbs the navigation of the Kehoe salmon who live in this water and they spawn here. And the Kehoe salmon are very important to the ecology of the entire area. And then he told us how the Kehoe are born in this freshwater stream, and after they reach a certain age, about 1 year, they migrate downstream, and they go all the way down into the ocean, into the salt water, and their body changes so they can adapt to the salt water. And of course, you know that biologists have monitored these fish. Probably have little devices that they put on the fish, and they monitor their progress. And they see that sometimes they live there for several years, and they can swim for thousands of miles in various directions. And after a few years, they come back to the original stream, and then they swim upstream all the way to the original pool where they were born. Then they spawn there, and then they die. And so we were asking, well, then of course the ranger was explaining that when people throw things in the water, it changes the smell of the water. And they've experimented in various ways to see how the fish find their way back. I don't want to go into all the details how they do that. It's kind of weird. But anyways, they found out that they smell their way back to that pond. And when there are things like gum, you can imagine spearmint gum or something, chemicals in it, but you know how it changes the scent of the water. And even he said pennies and all kinds of other things. Then the fish can't find their way back there. So they have this such a developed sense of smell. So in the Vedas, which are teaching all these paths of yoga back to our original home, there's the statement, Anavriti Shabda, that this sound vibration is particularly important for the human ear. When you hear the spiritual sound, then just like the fish can find its way back to its original place, no matter how far it's gone. So similarly, an Atma that's wayward or that's lost in this banyan tree of the material world, through the sound, can find its way back to the original home, the divine source. So the process in bhakti begins with this hearing, and it's a kind of a hearing of spiritual sound. And one of the most important of the sounds of this comes in the form of a mantra. There are many literatures which are poetical and which describe various processes of devotional service. Even Bhagavad Gita is in the form of poetry. And then there are prose that describe the bhakti process and things like that. And then comes the mantra. And the mantra is a very special form of sound. It contains a lot more than you think. Man means mind, and tra means deliver. So the mantra is that which can deliver the mind and actually direct it back to the goal, back to the original source. And there are many different kinds of mantra, but the mantra also is described as a seed. When you look at a seed, it looks insignificant, like what can that thing do? But once you water it, you put it in the right environment, then it grows into something that practically unimaginable, and it also produces fruits and flowers and everything. Or more modern example, like a zip file. It looks like an insignificant little icon, but you click on it and then many things can open up and become available to you. So the mantra, sometimes people ask, why do you say that over and over again? Because there's a way in which, as you continue to hear the mantra, and you put yourself in the right frame of mind, and this is partly why you have to be prepared in bhakti to have the right attitude as you're approaching the mantra. Then the mantra opens itself to you. And mantra murtam amurtikam, what wasn't visible before becomes visible to you through chanting the mantra. So one of the primary mantras of the Vedas is Om. And we chanted that, those of you who are here for the earlier classes. There's a Omkar is a primordial mantra. It looks like a really small mantra, but it contains this spiritual sound. And then, well, of course, there are many, many mantras. Then there's this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Can you read that? I don't even know if I can read it. Let's try that. Oh, I'll say then, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So again, in the Vedas, this mantra Om, it precedes the mantras, all the Vedic mantras, because it's the primordial sound. And Namo is a word that you'll see in a lot of mantras. And actually it means not me. And it comes to this point where one is realizing, as I mentioned, that there's a way in which that I'm not the controller, I'm not the center, it's not me. And very interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the process of knowledge, coming to perfect knowledge. And amazingly, in the system of knowledge in which he lists 20 items, the first one is humility, the second one is pridelessness. There's nothing about, higher degrees in education or anything. These are basic ways in which, when one actually truly becomes humble, one avails oneself to the mysteries of the universe. So this Namo is, I'm saying it's not me. I'm humbling myself. I'm opening my heart, actually. And Bhagavate is another name for the Supreme Divine Source. It means the one who's the source of everything, who's the source of all opulence. And Vasudevaya is a name for Krishna. So now, when you start getting into the science of mantras, there's a way in which some mantras have a particular flavor to them. And in the mantras given in the Bhakti scriptures, there are many mantras that are that have names of Krishna, and they are almost like nicknames. So just to give you an example, the science of names. If you meet somebody and you go to your friend and you say, that was the most fantastic person I ever met. And then your friend might say, did you get his name? He says, no, I didn't get his name. So, what'd you do that for? You forgot to get his name. But if you got the name, we could have tracked him down. We could have found out everything about him, especially nowadays. You just look him up. And I had this experience recently. I signed up for a class online, and so I gave the person my name, and then by the time we connected, he knew everything about me. I didn't even have to say anything. He looked me up. And so there are these names. If you get the name, you've really got something substantial. There's this idea of the connection. So especially in the spiritual sense. And then nicknames. Anybody here have a nickname? She has one?
I have a middle name.
Okay. You don't have to tell us, but if you
Rafaela.
Rafaela, okay. So let's say you happen to go on vacation for the first time to where? Mozambique. Because everything is unique in Mozambique. You go to Mozambique, and you're walking down the street. You've never been there before. You don't know anybody in Mozambique. And then somebody, throws open their window and they say, "Hey, Rafaela." Is that the name? They say, "Hey, Rafaela." You'll turn around so fast and you'll look and you'll say, "Who knows me?" Right? Or there's an intimacy in the name. So these names that are coming through the Vedas, they're revealing certain aspects of the Supreme. And so when you get into the science of mantras, some of the mantras they're very general, like Om, although it's a primordial mantra, it's kind of in a general sense. Someone might call to you and it's just, excuse me, madam. That, it's like, okay, yes. But if someone says, hey, Raffaella, you're like, who was that? So in mantras also, there are different qualities of mantras. And so there are different names that come into the mantras, and some of them have this very intimate kind of feel to them. So as mentioned, then there's this mantra which also comes from the Kali Santarana Upanishad. And I'll pass out the mantra because I have it on a card. And this is called the Maha Mantra. On one side is my name, and that's not the mantra. Although if you call it, I'll look when I'm walking down the campus. And this mantra, it originates in the Upanishads. And the Upanishad it comes from is called the Kali Santarana Upanishad. And it says there, it names the mantra in its entirety there. And then it says, this particular mantra is specially for this current age called Kali, when there's a lot of disturbance. It has great power to overcome all obstacles in this present age of Kali. So it's Kali Santarana Upanishad. That's iti sodashakam nam Kali nashana nashana. That one can overcome all the ills of this particular age by using this mantra. And in the mantra, there's the word Hare, but it comes from Hara, or also Hari. And these names are names of God, one who removes obstacles. Sometimes when I show people the mantra, they say, you want to try it? And they'll say, well, what does it mean? So it's a good idea to ask. You never know if you say something, it might be an incantation. So this Hara is actually the female form. But then it's, in Sanskrit, in the vocative, it becomes Hare. And Hare is like that. It's like an expression. When you change it to the vocative means you're just saying it as a kind of as a prayer. It's like Hare, like that. So this Hare, it's a very powerful word, these two syllables in the mantra to start with. And you'll find that that's the most prominent word in the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, and then the name, Krishna, which you can spell like this, or sometimes you'll see it like this. Because in the transliteration from the Sanskrit, these are international standards for using diacriticals for saying the same thing. So if you see it spelled like this or this, it means the same thing and it's pronounced the same way. So the name Krishna means all opulent. In the sense that the divine source contains everything and is the source of all opulence. And then comes Rama. So the first day is long. So Rama means source of pleasure. It also means spiritual strength. And so then when a mantra comes in a particular form, as it is in this mantra, it's called the Maha Mantra, then the the combination and the way it's set up is particularly important. So in bhakti, one of the main practices is to repeat the mantra and to hear it oneself. And there are two forms of using the mantra. Particularly, there's japa. Okay, japa. So japa is a way of, it's like a prayer, it's a personal prayer. So this japa, two words, so in Sanskrit, ja means birth, pa means sin. So that's when you do this japa, it takes you away from having to be reborn in this world, and also it wipes out all the sin. And also, ja means your jaw, and pa means your hand, so japa. Because in japa, you often use some prayer beads. So you hold them in your paw and you use your jaw, so japa. So in japa, you're saying the mantra for yourself, and you say just loud enough so that you can hear it. And aesthetically, it's a very, very pleasing process. You can sit or you can walk, and if you use beads, it's very nice because you hold on to something and it gives you the sense of touch, something to do. And then you can just start repeating the mantra and listening to the sound vibration. Now, oftentimes people have a unique experience when they hear the sound, and they'll have this experience, I've never heard any sound quite like it. And sometimes after having the experience, one may go for a little while without experiencing anything, and the mind will sort of want to take one away from the japa. And so japa takes some practice, and it's described by some of the great bhakti teachers to be like a kind of medicine. When you get jaundice, which I don't recommend, you get this bitter taste from everything you eat. But one of the curatives is sugarcane juice. Now, the doctor says drink sugarcane juice as much as possible every day, but it tastes terrible. So what do? You follow the doctor. And then gradually, as you continue taking the sugarcane, one day it starts to, maybe that tastes a little different. And then the next day, that's starting to taste better. And then finally it tastes sweet. And then you know your jaundice is gone. So when one begins japa, one has to take it like medicine, because by practicing it gradually, one will overcome the coverings of the Atma by this japa process, and then one can experience this innate spiritual happiness. And the other kind of chanting of the mantra is called kirtan, which has become very popular all over the world. Has anybody heard of kirtan? Yeah? You've been to a kirtan? So these kirtans, sometimes people come together, 2, 3 people, sometimes 5,000 people. And they'll use instruments, and then one person will sing the mantra, and the others will listen to the sound, and then repeat. And you get this sort of, you get the collective power of all the people who are there at the same time. So this is a very potent way of expressing the mantra and experiencing it. But the private practice is very important, because there's a way in which when one starts to develop this bhakti, this kind of prayer in using the mantra, it's almost like breathing. There's this real necessity to express this kind of gratitude that's coming out of the soul. And if one doesn't express it, it's like not breathing. So those who are used to chanting this japa, a lot of the bhakti practitioners, they wake up a little earlier in the morning so they can have some time to themselves. Because practically speaking, there's very little time for ourselves these days. And take a little time to sit with the mantra and just be with the mantra and listen very carefully to the sound of the mantra and have your own experience. This is a highly recommended process in all the bhakti scriptures. And then if you can attend a kirtan, anywhere you go, it will break through the clouds, and can experience this. And we've seen many times. I've been in India in this one place where they have 24-hour kirtan, and it's been going on for about 30 years. They haven't stopped doing this public kirtan. And in times when there are thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of people who come to visit it every day, I watch as I'm sitting there, and people walk in to the kirtan arena, and they look maybe morose or curious, or they have some kind of expression on their face, but then they start to smile, then they start to dance. They become transformed by the sound, so it's very powerful. So let's do one quick exercise of the japa, so we can experience what it's like, and then you can practice it on your own. You keep that card and memorize the mantra, and later on, if you get really ambitious or interested in it, you can always get some of these beads. These are prayer beads. You have some?
That's part of their gifts. I wish we do it now and we should practice on it.
You want to do that?
Sure.
You all want to try it on beads? Okay. So I'll just give you a primer before they get here. There's 108 beads on prayer beads. This is standard for Buddhist prayer beads. I think the rosaries, it looks
52.
smaller. 52?
Half of 100.
Half of 108. Okay, so then you'll notice there's a head bead, which we call the Krishna bead, and these other beads, they represent the 108 most intimate devotees of Krishna. So it's sort of an esoteric meaning to the beads. And if you hold your fingers out like this, like you're making a finger puppet, this middle finger and the thumb are the two fingers that you use to roll the beads in your right hand. And I hold beads like this. I'd start with the largest bead, if you happen to have a string of beads, which I don't think you do. There's graduated. Some are graduated, some aren't. And you hold the beads. You hold the bead in these two fingers, and then you sort of roll it like this. Actually, there's a nerve that runs down this finger, and when you stimulate that nerve, it helps you to concentrate. And so this would be one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then I go to the next bead, like just pull it forward with the thumb, and do it again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, why don't we pass them out? Is that okay?
Yes.
Congratulations for graduating in class. Da, 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 da.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. If you like to open them, you can pull out your beads. So just pull out your beads, and you can hold it next to the, put your fingers on the first bead next to the head bead, and we can try doing the mantra. We'll go about 20 beads, just to feel what it's like. Now this is meditation, so the object of meditation is actually pretty simple. It means to bring the mind back, because it's guaranteed that the mind will run away. We'll think, why am I doing this? Or I should be over across the street, or I should have, what happened? The mind could go any number of places. So when you notice that the mind has gone away from the mantra, this is the meeting point. You come back to the mantra. So just when you see the mind has gone away, just say, come on back, bring gently back, and just say, well, here's our meeting point. This is where we're starting at. It's a nice practice. If you can try to go 3 mantras at a time, stay concentrated on 3 mantras at a time, then start over another 3, another 3, another 3. So I'll go in multiples of 3, and then I'll stop. Okay? So, everyone got the methodology for moving forward? So moving forward? Okay. So, just find a comfortable place, and you can... If we sit nice and slightly with a straight spine, it helps you to concentrate. It alerts the rest of the body that you're doing something serious. And then I'll start chanting at a very slow pace, and then we'll do it in unison. And then I'll just stop us at a certain point. Are you all ready? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare
So you
Hare.
can stop there, keep your eyes closed, and just sit for about 30 seconds and breathe, and just feel how the vibration is still in your system and in the air. Now if you like, please open your eyes. And there's a lot of things that we can't see with our eyes. There are vibrations, there are waves of light and so forth. We don't have the power to perceive. And the mantra is nothing ordinary, but it has very specific spiritual energies that come from it. So it's to be experienced for yourself, for oneself. You have to spend a little time with the mantra and see. But the Bhakti scriptures describe that as one begins to practice, one will experience from oneself a sense of knowledge that's what's described as causeless knowledge. It's like you didn't go to school or anything like that. It comes to you naturally through the power of the mantra, knowledge. And knowledge, especially of being able to see the difference between body and spirit. You'll feel that you can deal with stressful situations more handily. You'll feel a sense of well-being, a connectedness with the universe. These are very general, but very real experiences. And as I've given the example before from the Bhakti scriptures, when a hungry person eats food, he or she knows that and experiences that there's nourishment, satisfaction, and the hunger's going away. So this is a direct process also for the Atma to experience the spiritual sound vibration. And this is Bhakti, the very prominent Bhakti practice. Of course, there are 9 Bhakti practices, but if you begin with this on a regular basis, it becomes a gateway to the many other processes as well. And now, because it's right up at 5 o'clock, we'll take some any reflections that you've had, because it's the last class for this semester anyway. And are there any things that stuck in your mind from today or from any of the classes that you want to recall? What's one thing that stuck with you? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just.
Well, you were smiling, so I knew something good was coming out. That's a sure sign.
I need to think now.
Okay.
Sorry.
One thing I liked was, it's just that, we were meeting under that tree for so long. And just the experience of everyone showing up for a very interesting cause, just to come together to discuss knowledge and the process of Atma. It's a very it's an open secret, but as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, only rarely do people get really interested in spiritual topics because there's so many other things to do. One can remain busy from the time one's a baby all the way until one's about to drop dead, and then think, oh, where did the time go? So to me, it was just just seeing the consistency of everyone coming to and meeting for that purpose was very gratifying.
For me, this was one of the most special moments of my week since I started coming with you guys. I've been sort of part of 2 sessions. I kind of drop in when I can, but I mean, everything that you talked to us about, I'm just absorbed, and I really enjoyed learning more about the Bhagavad Gita, which I had not before. I mean, I had, but not so directly as, as we did this time. So I definitely, started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and then we went to a talk, I think 2 weeks ago, on the life's final exam. So I've been reading that book as well, which is extremely interesting, and talking about death and how we can pass life's final exam. I don't know. I'm just generally extremely grateful for your time and your energy, and I'm just so happy that I was able to join you.
Thank you. I guess that's what I meant to say, how much I was appreciating him and showing. I was grateful. There's a feeling of gratitude for everyone coming, because everyone's really busy, and it's not easy to break away. And so it's nice. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Any other thoughts?
I really like under the tree. So if I come to conference room, I've been sitting in so many meetings in my career. Like it always my mind tell like something like professional, some busyness. But under the tree, it's always like so amazing experience.
Have some good memories with the wind blowing. But everyone was absorbed sitting under the tree like that. Yeah, that was a nice point. Thank you very much. Beautiful.
Actually, a few couldn't make it today because they expressed their deep gratitude.
Yeah, a few of the stalwarts that were here the whole time. Yeah. What did they say?
Yeah, they told us last week they won't be able to make it.
Yeah.
And yeah. We are trying to connect them with other programs like as a follow-up.
Okay.
So they already started coming to the Bhagavad Gita Friday lunch session.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, that was really
You also came, yeah. So they already started coming for the Friday session. And in this newcomers, we are planning to start from the 7th chapter.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
So I've heard your lectures on YouTube,
Oh.
a few of them,
I see.
and I think I'm subscribed to the ISV mailer, so they pop up with a reminder, which is very nice. One of the good reminders that I look forward to. I wasn't able to join all the classes here, but whenever I join, I think just like you said, it just felt like that week was fantastic. There was some guidance, there was some connection, and obviously there's a lot that happens at work and personal life in a given week. So having that grounding, I think, is super helpful. So same comment that express my deep gratitude, not just in this session, but all the YouTube lectures I've heard.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. Any memories? Anyone else? Anything that stuck in your mind from the sessions? One thing that you learned or picked up, or an impression, a feeling?
Thank you so much for this beautiful analogy you gave today about the fish finding its way back. It's really so symbolic.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like. I find with analogies, if I borrow them from somewhere else, then they can work fairly well. But if I stumble across them and it's something that I go like, yeah, that's that. It just really, it works. That was one of those. Yeah. In fact, I was walking with my friends and we started talking about it on the way out of the woods, and I say, I think this is like, and everyone was like, yeah.
By the way, this is Gayatri. She's the one that's been making the wonderful delicacies. She's actually presenting this selfless service of the Bhakti Yoga. I just she didn't ask for anything. I just asked, like, can you make? And she said, how many? When do you want? That's it. And then 9 weeks straight.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my kids also enjoyed your cooking, because I would take some with me.
We touched on that last week, just that one of the main practices of bhakti is breaking bread, is actually, taking spiritual food, which is, I think about it a lot because I like to eat. But I just, the whole experience, the senses is described, especially the tongue, is very powerful. It's described as voracious. It can say anything and get us into trouble. It can get us killed, get whole countries lose lives, sink ships. The tongue can practically do anything. And then also, it's really a beast in a way if it's not tamed, because it can just say, give me this, give me that. There's so many things that it wants to have. It's like, why? It's like, just give it to me. And you think about it, what a strong sense it is. And the Vedas say that if you can tame the tongue, then all the other senses can come under control. It's a profound concept, just concentrated in one place. And one of the main ways that the tongue becomes controlled is eating foods that are spiritualized. There's a way in which, not just where we take them from, or if they're healthy, or if they're nonviolent kinds of foods, those are all recommended, but also the consciousness that they're prepared in. And there's a transfer of energy, no doubt about it, in the ways we interact with others in this world, and the way we take in certain things. And if you're taking in food from somebody who has love for you, like your mom, she just wants to feed you because she loves you so much, a home-cooked meal is different from a TV dinner, if they still have those. I don't know. You know what a TV dinner is? It's a frozen thing. It was made in a factory, or airplane food. I don't know. There's a difference in the vibration, and especially there's a way in bhakti that the food is prepared by somebody who's doing it out of love and devotion, and before it's tasted by anybody else, it's offered. In other words, the cooking, the preparations being done as an offering to Krishna. Then it's offered. And then it takes on this the same vibration as the mantra. So when you eat it, you're actually, all the cells in your body are getting this. It sounds esoteric, but it's practical. When you take this food that's spiritualized, you'll experience for yourself. So that's one of the great benefits of bhakti. There's some other schools of yoga that are very austere, fasting and restricting the diet and so forth. But in bhakti, it's very positive, because yoga means plus. So it means you add something special to the things that you're doing in your day. And eating is one of the most important things that we do. So that's a very important process. Let's have a few more, since we have just this little chance before we go. Anyone? Things that you remembered, stuck in your mind, memories?
So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you very much. And thanks to Jay for introducing me to this program. I just stumbled upon it, and I feel that a lot of things in life just happen at the right time for whatever reason. It's just, happenstance or something, you need something. And I just happened to see his email, and I thought, I have read Gita a couple of times, but of course, I haven't imbibed it, or it hasn't reached me. And so I saw his email. I said, maybe I'll go try it out. And it's just, I feel that I'm feeling something inside me through the few lectures that I could attend. So I'm very grateful to you, to all of you, for making it happen. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm grateful to Jay also, and all those who helped set this up and keep it going, because he's, wherever he goes, he gives himself. In any environment he's in, he's always thinking about how to use this. I don't know how he does it, too, because he's so busy and successful in everything he does, but he always takes time to make sure he organizes these things wherever part of the planet he's on, so everyone can come in. So I feel really grateful that you invited me into this circle and allowed me to be a part of it. It was really nice. All of you. Thank you.
Yeah, the main help is provided by Sundar and Manshu, and also recently got Sudeep added to help us bring the prashadam from his home. So it's been a real support. And actually, mine is the easiest part because I work at Google. Sundar works at Amazon, and Himanshu works at Ericsson, and Sudeep also works at NVIDIA. So they're all like equally busy, but they take the time to come and give us the support.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Has been working until today. And
Today was my last day.
she's going to go off to India for like what?
6 months.
She'll take a break
Ah.
and come back and figure out what to do. So it's like a party for her too.
No one done.
Is that why the next semester doesn't start in 6 months?
Yeah. So yeah, we have a different team to make the Friday lunch. So actually, we are kind of out there, but yeah, we'll see what we want.
She's speaking of that, the hardest part while bringing the prasadam was resisting the urge of opening
Yeah, we should thank Sandeep especially for that.
Yeah.
But thank you, Gayatri, and for everyone here. I mean, it's such a privilege and an honor. I don't see it. I mean, every Wednesday I've been, I guess every Tuesday when we've been discussing this, I just never knew. I mean, something or the other has been coming up, and I always used to think, oh, this Wednesday I don't think I would be able to make it, but somehow the arrangement was getting made, and it was just happening. So thank you.
I really like that. I think when we were sitting under the tree also, and then we, had in the classroom, everybody was very attentive. I mean, there was a different energy which I felt in this batch. It was so focused, so attentive, so much engaging, and that was also like an inspiration for me. This is very nice, very nice energy. So thank
Especially in
you.
the group discussions.
Yeah, the group discussion.
There were like really some probing questions where like it just resounded with us after even that discussion.
Yeah. And I like the stories. You wrote those stories that really got us absorbed.
You wrote, Jay?
Some of them, yeah, Sundar wrote some of them.
Yeah, they were brilliant. They really helped us learn it.
Yes.
I just saw it as a learning tool. And you too. You brought in so many different analogies. And look over there. You know.
Yeah.
The crystal.
With the
The flower.
Amphitheater also, you said like the peak, triangle. Did you remember that?
memorable.
So your path is there.
And thanks to you, all the Wednesdays, we know how hard is your schedule now. You'll be giving one more class and you've been traveling, but still, thank you so much.
It was an honor to be here. I just feel like, we talk about how it's a rare opportunity and also takes endeavor to come. And spiritual practice, especially like a wedge, because it's really hard to break out of patterns. It's really hard to break out of habits. It's really hard to break out of all the obligations that we have. There's a way in which one becomes overcome by all these things. So spiritual life starts with very small participation, but it's elusive because even a tiny bit of participation, it starts to open up. As the wedge goes forward, it opens up one's life more and more to the opportunity of practicing spiritual life. And why not? I mean, there's an idea that there's no hope in this world sometime, or that I'm obligated to just suffer, and it is the way it is. But Krishna's saying in the Gita that there's actually a way that you can, through your own decision, take up a practice that will profoundly change your life. Another example of transformation that I really like is of the making of yogurt. And so the way you make yogurt is if you have a pot of milk, ahimsa milk, and then you add just a little bit of yogurt culture to the big pot, and you put it in a nice environment that is something that's slightly warm. And you just leave it. And then overnight, the whole pot turns to yogurt. So in a similar way, we have our big life with all kinds of things in it. And if you add a little bit of spiritual practice to one corner of your life, just add that culture, then it actually is so powerful and potent that it'll work its way into all the different aspects of your life. So it's highly recommended that you take a little time, if possible, in the morning. Start your day with something that's like the chanting or reading a Bhagavad Gita. Even if it's 2 minutes, even if it's 1 minute, start the wedge, because the wedge has a very thin edge. And once it enters, though, it'll allow you to do more. I've had so many experiences where the mind said, I'm too busy, but then I pick up the Bhagavad Gita and say, I would have missed this. And then you suddenly feel that I don't want to go anywhere else. And that feeling will sustain you throughout the whole day, that you know you have a basis in something that's much more solid, and that it's free from the anxieties of all the obligations that are there throughout the day and all the pressures and stresses and things like that. So it's very practical. Practical means you have to practice it. And it's good, you have to renew it every day also, because you can take a class and then walk away and then you can become recovered. I mean, I should say covered again. And then if you start over every day, renew yourself with the contact. Just think of it as it's not a lot of hard work. It just means that you have to actually take the contact with the spiritual sound. It's one of the couple of mantras, just that like mottos that we have. One of them is keep the vibration going. Wherever you are, you can keep the spiritual vibration going. There's ways in which you can hear the Bhagavad Gita even when you're driving in your car, or you can do the mantra. It doesn't mean you have to sit down and sit up straight. You can be anywhere and any time and keep the mantra going. But if you find yourself in anxiety, which is very likely will happen at one point or another during your day or life, take refuge in the spiritual sound because it clarifies, and it gives you some objectivity and a way to step away from the fear, the anxiety that creeps in and covers over our real knowledge. And that's one mantra. Keep the vibration going. And another concept is just be there for the spiritual sound. In other words, if you just put yourself in front of spiritual sound, my teacher once said, God helps those who help themselves means helping oneself means putting yourself in front of the spiritual vibration. You have to do at least that. Like, you have to get there somehow and put yourself in front of the vibration. Even if the mind's kicking and screaming, put yourself in front of the vibration, and then you'll feel the effects from making that endeavor.
The one thing I've seen that helps is like making some sort of a weekly commitment, like even to this program. You know, if there wasn't, hopefully, I mean, for me, if I wasn't probably organizing it and like other things to do, so I would have skipped. So it serves as a forced commitment. But every time I leave the program, I'll be really glad that I made it. And then the work I would somehow, that luckily Google is flexible enough to make up any time of the day as long as you get your work done like that. So it helps that. So yeah, if you're interested in continuing, the Friday lunch programs are really great. Again, it's under the tree, and hopefully, because it's in the noon time, even during the winter, I think it's still warm. If needed, you can go to a room later on, but they're continuing there
12 to 1?
12 to 1 every Friday. As I was mentioning last week, we're just about reading the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Because in this Atma session, we covered most of the first 6 chapters and a little bit from the last 6 chapters. So the Gitas are organized in the middle, that's Karma Yoga, the last is Jnana Yoga, and the middle is Bhakti Yoga. Not to keep the contents of the course generic and not appear too religious for people who may not be familiar with the content, so we usually start off with those parts. And then once the sense of why the middle 6 chapters are there, then it's a nice way to appreciate those. Otherwise, you may miss the point. So that's why we cover the karma and the jnana first before coming to the bhakti. So, so the bhakti part is especially beginning in the Friday, and that there we do more detailed study. Like every week, we just take up like 4 or 5 verses, and then go actually half an hour discussion and then half an hour lunch. And so, yeah, if you can just make out make it to that, so that'd be a good way to kind of stay in touch. And also, it's more of a decision. You just have to say, okay, I did 1 hour and then take off, and then we see everything works around that. Gopi, Gopi is one of the yoga teachers here. He has been doing this Monday 4 to 5, 5 to 6 yoga program for the last 8 years, and he hasn't missed a single week when he's in MTV, Mountain View. So that's like, I asked him, like, he's so busy traveling everywhere every week, but I asked him, but he just said, that's just 1 hour for me. Just a decision you make, and then it just goes on. So yeah, it would be great to see some of you, whoever can join at that time for that. And again, I'd like to thank Vaisheshik Das for giving us this opportunity to hear. And even for some of us who have ancestry in other ways, this is a very special program because the way he explains it is from a very logical and experiential perspective rather than explaining it. It's because it's like in the Gita, it's not like some of us, it's hard for us to express our understanding and knowledge in that terms. So for us, it's a great way to learn how do you express these same teachings from a 5,000-year-old tradition to somebody that's working and living in the modern world, and then make it relevant to them basically. So that's something we are really learning and hopefully learning and being able to convey to others over the course of our journey. And also, yeah, he's like so busy, and one of the things he may not like this, but to tell, this Saturday is his birthday celebration. So that's happening at the temple. And if you have some time, it's actually it's between 8 to 12 in the morning, and there's a grand feast at like 12:30. So if you have any time during that, I would really invite you for the Krishna temple in Mountain View. That because here we see him as in a very small perspective, for the Atma course, but there you'll see yes many disciples around the world. They're coming here and they'll be sharing their gratitude on what all they receive knowledge and guidance and inspiration from him throughout the year. And it'll be a very touching ceremony just to see how much people appreciate him and I know how he touches their heart. So if you have some time, you can come and wish him there. I'll also follow the details by email, but I'll be a way to for us to thank him also for this wonderful class.
Thank you.
So do you want to say something?
I think it's been wonderful actually. Working as a TA and then giving support and interacting with all of you, and basically we enjoyed both the sides. Actually, we listen to Shikababu's talk, and we also see how all of you benefit from getting that knowledge and moving forward, taking steps in the spiritual journey. So happy to be part of this group. And with just one more thing I want to add was that this mantra is also George Harrison's favorite. Hare Krishna. And one of the books that's there in the gift, it has some excerpts of interview from George Harrison.
And one other person that deserves a special mention is Dave. He has been coming on session 1 to 9.
This one.
Is
So I had another course.
So I think that.
But he's always the session's online. I just noticed that today when I looked
Yeah,
at
I
the video
saw
from last
it
week.
too.
It was online, so I was gonna watch it.
Oh, okay.
I think not the same with the temple.
Yeah, I didn't miss single session. It's so useful to me. So like by the time it's coming, like I can stop everything in the
Wow, that's good.
That's really, it's a real company. It makes us feel everything is worth it. When people benefit, that's the best thing you could expect as a work.
It makes us go semester after semester.
Can I ask you if, we want to maintain connected with you, what's the best way? I mean, I enjoy, hearing you so much and learning from you. I'd like to explore other avenues. Do you give talks, or what's the best way to connect?
There's an email on the back of that card I gave you. That's my email. Email me. There's I have some links to, schedule and things like that.
Perfect.
You can be in touch.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We can give you more information also. I mean, this Sunday he's giving a talk, and
Okay, please.
he's giving a talk.
Right now, in fact, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Next class is at 6. We have a class 6 to 8.
And it's not avoiding procrastination.
Actually, today it's kind of a practical class, how to kill procrastination and embrace disciplines. That's it. Sort of practical. We're sort of for the last part of the year to get ready. Thank you very much, everyone.
Sorry, I forgot to fill up the taxes.
I didn't realize you guys were not in Google. I just assumed everyone here was.
Google can see you sooner than later.
Yeah. Actually, Amazon was a big focus of my life for the last 2 years because I was working in cloud space.
Oh.
So all we did was talk about Amazon.
Within Google?
Yeah, Google's cloud.
Company, as a
Amazon,
competitor.
yeah, Amazon cloud is like way out there compared to Google Cloud. We're always talking about what Amazon is doing, how they're doing better. Of course, Amazon is a leader in that space.
Oh, for the cloud search.
Just cloud-based, yeah. So on Saturday, is this going to be a lecture or is it going to be?
Yeah, there's been a lecture at
Thank you for your email.
Yeah.
so there is some offering of volunteers.
Okay.
But I sent you the
Yeah, the details of what's happening. When do you come by then? You can come earlier.
Of course, I'm infinitely grateful to all of you for a unique opportunity, and I'm so blessed to have been part of it. I hope to still join even in future sessions also. I like to hear the messages again and again and again. Simple truths that you just put in the forefront of your mind.
It's very well said. Today's class, if you watch it online, I'm going home and watching it online. Normally I go to the temple.
Okay.
You can watch it online on ISKCON. It's International Standards, it's International Society of Krishna Consciousness. So ISKCON.com. You have live broadcast and everything. Then it's a YouTube channel also. Everything.
Wow. Okay, I'm so glad to hear that. I live in San Francisco, and I told Jay when he invited me to one of the temple, I would completely be going, but I don't have a car, and I live in San Francisco, so there's some complications there. But I want to make an effort to at least once in a while, come down. And you guys are an amazing group.
So what's your good name? I got your middle name, Rafael.
Yeah, Nina Rafaela. People call me both names, so that's why a friend of mine referred to me as Rafa and Gina. Who's Rafa?
Where are you from?
Mexico. Yeah, my last name is Greek.
I would have guessed that. Okay, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Sudeep.
Sudeep. Okay. Nice to meet you. We'll see each other again. Oh wow.
That's a dessert called
How are these?
These are
So not this Friday. Friday's a little bit difficult. Okay. I don't want you to realize you go to graduation session. Even though I
Very nice to meet you. Hope you wanted to eat. Like this happened by Providence, I'm sure. I will, except this, I think for the next month, taking all Fridays off.
I did.
So what do you do? Morning, against the vacation, we have a. And then it is, a good way to do this would be, friends or visiting, and then always this tension between, you're always busy and have to make time. It seems like a good way to going somewhere. No, they're here. So I get to spend time there. No, Saturdays I get busy with wedding, so this way. I never mentioned that. I go to Signature and, right. So, recently, both Saturdays and Sunday, just put this thing out. Busy. Each brings food service there. Chapter 7, sorry, chapter 1. This year is this. Last year was 7 to 12. The so we can focus on this. Yeah, it's a very different perspective. No, I've never heard the progression just like the way he just said. Currently, that was very useful to. It's all about learning perspective. Associations and read the text, come back to read the text. Students in class, continuous classes. You know, actually, it's busy.
I'll see you around on Friday. Yeah, that's how I. I will leave. No, my car is right here. Oh. Yeah, yeah. I got my very kind of news. Bye. You can have some.
How about you? What do you do? Yeah. Second year college. Very good. Second year college, second year high school. University of Pacific, two girls, both of them are she's. In fact, that's how I got introduced me to the mission with all the other so the kids are so the food is awesome. Thank you. Do you make the cookie also? Oh, there.
So I made it look yesterday.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. I was deciding much in the next month, maybe not very long, but after that, I'm hoping. Sure. Yeah. Since it's like beginning of
Managed to get it out though. Maybe first. Just make some crispy outside. Take a one retro. Don't you I can do the other one? Yeah, he's in Sacramento. But he likes Sacramento. I never forget.
So working with friends, all like happenstance, right? So my one of my friends is
And then I'm kidding myself, that's not fascinating me. He says, you know what? $1,500 you can get a 4 bedroom house. I said, okay, that works. So I said, that works. That'll do it for me. That'll do it.
Renting and all, yes.
Yeah, that's how I keep it. Rajesh is part of
That's how you can start if she starts at 2 o'clock.
Very advanced and he
Everybody's going to settle there. It's just, as of now, he's just exploring.
You don't want him to settle down.
yeah, small,
When do these projects start? I don't care, I'm in life.
Yes. Oh, it's not an issue. He's the one who introduced me, right? Rajesh, and I should tell him this before the
very coincident to me.
then I should tell him this. Rajesh Bhagat is someone so you have a family. I've lived in Tulsa for a long time.
Told me your name. You did tell me that maybe you are a person who comes to the
Yeah, yes, that's me.
contact in this area. It's not quite a temple.
We're at here. But here, yeah.
Oh, so you
Yeah, I already almost.
No, probably not. But he comes for a yatra for sure.
There are some people who come from, but maybe it's not from. Very nice.
Actually, it was not.
How do you have family friends? Family friends is not local, Marathi friends are actually Mudwari. I used to work for Marathi, but I used to run my own organization. I used to run. Someone else actually. Then I'm a Sri Krishna conscious. Bye.
Appreciate it. Devanand is like, not anything. I think better find a English word. इस तरह कुछ नहीं होने वाला
Oh, yeah. We have a laptop there and we're really looking forward, looking for some models like that. Because there are young kids.
Coming to the now, I'm coming to the now.
Young kids sometimes.
Yeah, so small city cookies is great.
Absolutely, that's the concept.
It's 8 members. Is that particular 8 members?
Initially, we were some people wanted like they got this dynamic. It's one big action first, and then chapters. But then they got now more mistake. They realized what it does not really exactly. So, we just adapt according to the need of the audience. Like, it's just like it's and so that's how we are going to proceed with this chapter. And it's more, but now from now on, it's like it is used to read which were for anybody.
Actually, for the first preferences. One bag.
This one actually really used to be playing what we want.
That's how I think you they can sit and then give me my phone, like, oh my god, that's actually awesome.
Absorb so much. Not like that.
We are invited.
Much more than
Yeah, I mean, even though I stay outside, when I stay home, I don't stay in the campus.
They know to this.
Not in the village. Even one visit, this one garden.
And they make it priority. That's why it goes. The program is just taking great power. They make it also
So our weddings are so we fight. We got to third floor. There's only 5 people.
here I went there. Because it's really great for us. They make it great for us.
So that really wants to communicate here.
It's like
Very friendly.
Only one hour exercise with kids. Do more for kids.
Kids friendly. It's kids in the right now. Kids are just let me do this and you go play, right?
there's a lot. Nine is very common. You know what we practice at wedding? Nothing. Now, if I put that hand out, I can grab something to hold something to it. Stand close.
At this place, and we place.
That is easier. Just give her two pens and she just sits there and just keeps playing with the pen. That's it. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
I just go. Last year when I went, spent 4 months. Living up to I mean, my parents everywhere. So I can school the children. Otherwise, that's the only problem I have. I can't take. It becomes very hard. Everything you have. I have to They're very close to the body. Like if you move from this is three dollars.
Outsider,
See, if you go from right, you go to the next gate towards Brooklyn. Then hardly, you know, the hospital. There's a small road. Yes. Still be better. It takes 6 minutes to go.
every discussion.
I don't know. But I would say, unless I have to. Jackets. We can take it my way to it. You get the association.
Totally fine.
Just don't want
Chanting session.
that part.
Other people doing something else. Yeah. I see all kinds of classes here.
Nice to go to the amazing. The whole atmosphere of the children is so nourishing. I mean, I feel like a vacuum. Like one day I just come to I'm actually, even though I was raised in a city, but I lived 10 years. How
With the socialization aspect is very heavy.
just something never thought.
Socialization aspect wasn't that it's like I never felt like thinking about just crossover as
Don't ask me, I only followed my husband. Scottish needs to be good.
How many of these went? 6, right?
Yeah, that day I got it. I just saw it.
Totally take on me. No, it's good. I remind myself that some today is the next session on that. Yeah.
But you can take this.
Yeah.
If you want to take this off. Okay, you want to take these?
No, that's only Sean positive.
Yes.
So okay, Prabhuji, I can throw it in the Yeah, this one.
This, I need a good for oil.
So oil can go in there?
This is the general trash, the compostables, that's recycled, this is like paper. Like everything is like super.
Quite
sophisticated. Your trash, your things, you know. And like all.
Keeps you busy. Really?
This is far out, Marcus. Google is far out.
But that's a nice thing, you know, so they're open to.
So.
It's like a campus. It's a campus. It's not.
But it's very easy to get lost here.
Yeah. Oh, it's 180 campus.
I don't know whose it is. You can ask him, maybe this.
No. They'll take, yeah. For family.
Oh, that's what I'm taking. I mean, I'm taking full fee. Like, I don't think they won't eat.
If you're not taking, I can take. But you take Raja and
Oh, no, they won't eat. Today also I forgot to switch off
Okay,
this.
what is that? Show me.
I always organize